robot to read books and movies, it always looks like this.
Input. Art for Abyssinia. Adam Dunn.
Holy crow, you can read!
Input.
I always dreamed of being able to read that fast and extract the knowledge of a book in an instant. But in reality, my reading speed is closer to this.
Blah 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 blah.
I am a slow reader, but today I decided to take the matter into my own hands and see how fast I can read a book. I've always been attracted to speed reading, but I never knew if it was really possible. I've been struggling with reading forever, and I'm pretty sure I even have dyslexia. So here's my challenge for the month. Read 30 books in 30 days. I honestly don't even know if that's possible, and that is more books to read in a month than I've ever read before. The book I've been reading before starting this challenge is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. And if I continue at the current speed I'm reading, I estimate I should be able to finish the book in about 20 hours of reading. If we push the estimation further and say that I read 20 minutes per day, it would take me at least 2 months to finish the book. And if I read every other day, it will take me 4 months. Good luck on remembering the beginning of the story by the end of the book. And this has always been the difficulty I had for reading. It took me a long time and a lot of effort. So what is speed reading? Speed reading is a reading technique that allows to extract the content of a text in a very short time. The most ordinary reading method is the word-by-word reading method that we learn in school. We tend to speak the words in our minds and to go word by word, which takes us a lot of time. It makes a very slow process. But after about 10 years old, we don't learn any new reading techniques. We haven't evolved our reading since we were 10 years old. We haven't learned to read better, faster, or with more comprehension. This is what speed reading is trying to catch up to, giving us the tools and method to allow us to understand better in a shorter time a given text. Imagine if during our scholar years we were stuck with our math knowledge from when we are 10 years old. No percentage, no rule of 3, no trigonometry, only plus, minus, multiplied, and for the best, division. That's pretty much how I feel about reading. I haven't evolved since I was 10 years old. Obviously, speed reading isn't only about speed, it's also about comprehension. I could easily read 10,000 words without understanding anything I read. But is it really reading? Or would it rather be fanning the pages to refresh my face? I couldn't find any official numbers, but from what I gathered, speed reading champions are able to read over 20,000 words per minute. Taking an average book of 300 words per page and 200 pages, it gives them about 3 minutes to finish the whole book. But what I found were only claims from those said champions and no official numbers. So if you have any reference for this, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll be happy to check them out. I expected this challenge to be pretty difficult, so I started preparing for it a month in advance. First thing for a reading challenge is to gather the books, and I had 30 books to gather. So I started gathering 30 books. I asked my friends for recommendations, I asked on Instagram for recommendations, and I just browsed to see what book I would be interested in. And as someone recommended to me, I even got a little bit more than 30 books in order to be able to skip a book if the book is boring and focus only on finishing the books that are interesting. I also started studying a little bit of speed reading. I checked a few online resources, videos, and other websites, but I eventually settled down with the speed reading book by Tony Buzan. This book is a course on how to speed read, so starting from the beginning and testing you along the way, so you can understand, put into practice the techniques. This way I was able to start apprehending the techniques and putting them in a little bit into practice, but the test only lasts a few minutes maximum, so we'll have to see how it goes for a full book. So how to speed read? There is already a lot of content online, so I'm not going to go into details, but basically here's how it goes. What is often recommended is to use your finger or a pencil to guide your eyes, as the movement of your eyes is going to be what slows you down the most. Another thing that's going to slow you down is skipping back. When you start reading reading a sentence or a paragraph and you need to go back to the beginning because you forgot, you missed something. So what you want to do is to keep on going forwards whatever happens. You need to trust the context and your mind's ability to recreate the story from the context. You can try using those techniques and go as fast as possible and increase your speed little by little until you don't understand anymore what you're reading. Once you arrive at that point, slow down just a little bit to be able to understand, and that's going to be your speed reading speed. The last thing I did to prepare for this challenge that may not sound like much, but is going to have a strong impact later in the challenge, is I told everyone I knew, all my surroundings, about this challenge, that I wanted to read 30 books in 30 days. What this is going to do is that later on, when I get tired and lose a little bit of motivation, I am still going to have my friends that are going to ask me about how this challenge is going, and I don't want to be there and tell them I quit the challenge. This is going to give me a little extra boost needed in time. So how went my speed reading journey? I started by testing my reading speed, and that was not a good result. I ended up at 67 words per minute, which is no more than my typical reading speed, but still, my normal reading speed is around 100 words per minute. For reference, a normal reader is said to be around 200 to 250 words per minute, so I'm at least half the speed of a normal reader. If you want to test your own reading speed, find a piece of text of 1 or 2 pages and time yourself how long it takes to read that whole text. Once you're finished reading, simply count the number of words in that text and divide the number of words by your time in minutes. You can do a quick estimation of the number of words by counting the number of lines in your text and averaging out the number of words per line on the first 3 lines, and multiply the number of words per line by the number of lines. After learning the techniques from the speedreading book and putting them a bit into practice and testing myself, I ended up at reading 300 words per minute. Already a pretty good improvement, but I'm still not sure if I'm going to be able to hold that speed for a whole book. I also want to know that those 300 words per minute, I read them with about a similar comprehension as my first test. And with all that done, it's time to get to business and to dive into the books. The first few books went pretty well, and to be fair, I did choose among the smallest books in the collection, but I did manage to read them each in one day. But I could feel my eyes tiring pretty fast, and I discovered a new muscle I never thought about, the eyes muscles that allow your eyes to move left and right and up and down. And as every muscle in your body, they can get sore. Let's just say my eyes muscles got a pretty good workout for a few days in a row, and I was able to finish 5 books in 5 days. But on the 5th day, my eyes were pretty painful and I even got a pink eye. I got a bit worried about it, so I got it checked by a doctor, who told me it's pretty much benign and happens typically for people who spend a lot of time working on computers and screens, or people who spend a lot of time reading. So after this, I decided to take a few days to allow my eyes to recover, and when I got back to reading, I decided to read in shorter periods and to take breaks every 30 minutes or so. But I kept going on my reading journey and was able to finish the month. In the end, I was able to read 12 books. I know that's pretty far from the original goal of 30 books, but I'm still pretty happy with the result. As a perspective, 12 books is probably the same amount of books that I've ever read before this challenge, effectively doubling the number of books I've read in my life. I'm sure some of you will just say I've simply failed my 30 books challenge, but for me this is quite a success. I've never read so much or even so fast, and even more than this, I learned a new technique that I'll be able to apply for the rest of my life. I now understand so much better why people fall in love with reading. Before, when I was reading, the action was slow and the dialogues didn't make much sense, and it was hard to connect everything together. But now that I'm able to read at a much more decent speed, I understand better the reading I get, and when I read a story, I get the action, I get the connections of the dialogue, and I can visualize the story unfolding in front of me as I read it. I now understand I didn't appreciate reading before for 30 years because I simply had a bad reading technique. As I finish this challenge, I am able to read at about 100 pages per hour or 500 words per minute. So a 200-page book will take me about 2 hours to finish, which is easily doable in a week by reading 20 minutes per day, or even to read in a single day during the weekends. I do feel I can still improve on this skill. and I need a lot more practice to be comfortable speed reading regularly. So I'll keep practicing and try to improve my techniques. I do want to revisit this challenge in the future and to try again to read 3 books in 30 days, but that will be for another challenge. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and let me know by liking and subscribing. Feel free to suggest other challenges that I could do in the future. Cheers!